Today's episode of the Project Management for the Masses podcast is brought to you by Career Academy, a global leader in on-demand training solutions for IT and business professionals. What would you say if I told you can get complete video training packages for the PMP exam, PMI Agile Certified Practitioner, CAPM, and PMI Risk Management Professional certifications, and get up to 180 PDUs, all of it for just $99. Visit pmforthemasses.com/academy to sign up. The website again is pmforthemasses.com/academy.
Project managers, have you ever felt like you should get that promotion or a better job? Start a business, write that book. Have you ever felt you were made for more but didn't know where to start?
Welcome to the PM for the Masses podcast with your host, Caesar Abaid.
Learn from the experts, think outside the box, have a voice, network, and be extraordinary.
PM for the Masses podcast.
Well, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Caesar Abaid, your host, and this show is your weekly reminder that your career matters more than your job and that your life is a project and you are the manager. Whether you work for a company or for yourself, your job stability is really just your ability to land your next gig. So join me in practicing intentional, planned, and value-adding relevance, starting right now. You know, as the host of this podcast, I get to know a lot of people in the project management industry. People who are professors, people who are just starting, people who just heard of project management, people who have been in project management for years, people who lead PMOs, all sorts of folks in this industry. And one thing that always amazes me is to learn about the journey that each professional goes through to get to where they are. And just like every project is unique, every single one of our journeys through our careers is unique as well. Some people start in engineering school like I did. Others have degrees in journalism, or some have no degree at all, or some are certified, some are not. But the point is, each journey is very unique and fascinating. So my guest on today's episode of the show is a prime example of this phenomenon. Errette Dunn has had an incredible career. It started at Toyota, where he was exposed to the creators of lean manufacturing. And then he went on to AirBus, and we're going to cover all this during the interview. And now he works at Wrike.com. And he helps his clients become insanely productive. This is in his own words. And their teams extremely well connected through effective communication. Now, before I share with you my conversation with Errette Dunn, I just wanted to share some very good news. My book is here. I just got 532 books in the mail. And if you want to know what that looks like, go to pmforthemasses.com/89 and I'll have a picture that I took of 532 books. It's a lot of books, but they're here. The book looks fantastic. It's beyond my expectations, and I'm starting to fulfill my orders. There's a lot of books I need to mail out and hand to people who supported me through the Kickstarter campaign, and to the people that have been pre-ordering the book since pretty much early this year. So I am doing a little bit of a promotion here. So if you get the book before this weekend, if you're listening to this episode on August 20th, okay, so which is or August 21st, which is a Friday, so you have basically 2 days until Sunday, August 23rd, to go and buy this book, and I will not charge you for shipping. Okay, so it's just a couple days. I haven't been charging for shipping since the beginning of the pre-ordering, and now that I'm starting to ship it, I'm gonna start charging for shipping. So go to pmforthemasses.com/89 or go to projectmanagementforyou.com to order the book before Sunday, the 23rd of August. So that's it. I'll give you a little bit more of an update after the interview. And now let's get started.
Special guest coming up next. pmforthemasses.com. pmforthemasses.com.
Errette Dunn joined Wrike in mid-2014 as a principal consultant. He helps Wrike's customers to become insanely productive by leveraging lean principles, agile project management methods, and Wrike's real-time platform. Previously, he worked at Toyota Motor Company and then Airbus Group, where he led the development of lean practices across diverse business functions in engineering, manufacturing, sales, and business support. He has coached managers that oversee 5 to 70,000 employees in 17 different countries. Errette earned his MBA from IESE Business School and a BSc in Industrial Engineering from Universidad Panamericana. He's fluent in Spanish and French and has been told his English isn't bad. It isn't. He lives in Mountain View, California, and that's where he was on the line with me today. Hello, Errette. How are you, my friend?
Excellent, Cesar. Thank you for the introduction.
Bienvenido.
And gracias.
Yeah, we were just talking right before I pressed the record button here. I was trying to understand where he was from, and you're from Mexico, correct?
That's right. I mean, I was born in the U.S.
Oh, you were born in the U.S. That's right.
Yeah, I was born in Houston. My father's American and my mother's Mexican, and I grew up since I was 3 years old in Guadalajara, in Mexico.
Nice, very nice. I remember Guadalajara from the World Cup 1986. I was a young gun, and I remember trying to pronounce that word. It was hard.
Yes, it is easy for me.
Yeah, it is easy for you. Very good. Now, Errette, I don't even know how we connected, but you're doing some fantastic work at Wrike. I'm sure we have some common friends. I know a few people who work there, and I saw an interview that you did on video with David Allen, and that was very interesting. And then I read a couple of other articles that you've written, and I thought, it'd be a perfect guest here on the PM for the Masses podcast, because you talk about a couple of different things, including lean. You have experience in lean product development, which has, as you know, that there is a direct correlation here between that and project management. So tell us a little bit about how you got started and a little bit of your career up to this point.
Yeah, well, thank you again for the invite to your podcast. How did I get into the realm of project management? Because I received formal education on industrial engineering. And then very early on in my career, I had the very good luck of joining Toyota, which for me was fantastic because, they practically invented 50% of the things I studied in industrial engineering and quality management systems and so on. And one of the things that is amazing about working at Toyota is their approach to developing people. So the way I actually got into project management is because they simply threw me into the water. I started as a very young engineer when I was 23 years old, and I was, within my first month in Toyota, I was already managing some important and high-stake quality improvement projects, working with product development engineers within Toyota, both in Europe and in Japan, and working with our suppliers. So I had to really learn very fast on how to manage horizontally without any hierarchical power at all. And of course, I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of issues that I had while trying to learn how to manage people horizontally. But that's the way that Toyota manages people. That's the way that they throw you to learn how to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got started with basic project management. And later on, when I was recruited into AirBus, because AirBus was building their own lean management team with a mission to transform AirBus into becoming way more effective and efficient. And within AirBus, I did receive much more formal training that is based on the PMBOK that most of your listeners might be more familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And now you work for Wrike, correct?
That's correct. Wrike invited me to join because it's very interesting. Wrike is a growing company in the Silicon Valley area. We provide a online platform for teams to manage projects and collaborate on tasks and communicate much more efficiently on real time. And the vision of Wrike when they invited me over to fill this position was they wanted to really help their customers be insanely productive and how they work as teams. And they wanted to use part of my background in consulting and coaching teams on how to improve processes and how to improve the way people manage projects. and do that with the help of technology, which is something I had not done before because we were using more traditional style of project management tools. So this has been an exhilarating ride. I'm enjoying it a lot within Wrike, and it's amazing what people without any project management background can do with a simple, intuitive tool and with a little bit of help. So I wouldn't say I'm achieving amazing things. Actually, our customers are achieving amazing things with a bit of help from us.
Very interesting, and I'm we talk a lot about here on the podcast, and books come out all the time talking about the fact that the role of the project management manager is changing, and so I think the proof is how the traditional software companies that build software for project management, they are also changing and they're morphing into more of a collaborative environment, and some are even shying away from being called a project management solution. But I noticed when you're describing what Wrike does, you mentioned project real quickly, and then you moved on to collaboration and stuff. And I think that's a fantastic shift. And the fact that that Wrike is it's riding this wave is just a fantastic thing.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that we are great at providing features that help professionally trained project managers do their job, because we do offer some very cool features on that side. Mm-hmm. But we have also recognized that one of the biggest pains of the companies is not necessarily to find software tools that will help the project managers plan and execute their projects. The big struggle that most people have is involving everybody else, whether it's people who are executing tasks or untrained project managers on how to coordinate their teams. And that's something that we've been very good at as well, keeping that balance on helping on the execution side. And that results on project managers spending less time on chasing people, trying to get reporting and trying to get the status meetings and so forth. So that's something that the technology is being allowing us to reduce that time that could be considered as not very valuable for the project managers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I've been to the website and I looked at some of the demos and the screenshots there. It just looks really interesting, and it's kind of hard to explain using words. So I recommend everybody go to Wrike.com and check out what you guys are doing, because it's really phenomenal.
Okay.
Now, Errette, let's take a step back here. You worked for two fantastic companies, the Toyota and also AirBus. So. Mm-hmm. It's very, very interesting that I have you on the show right now, because I'm actually reading a book called The Lean Startup, and he mentions Toyota. And the book I read prior to that was Standout by Dory Clark. She also mentions Toyota, and she mentions the Lean Startup. And so it seems like, at least for me, even though it's not a new topic, it seems like I'm getting bombarded by it. So, for the listener right now who is not familiar with the concept of lean, explain that to us.
Ooh, okay. So lean has its origins on the manufacturing environment, okay, where the paradigm shift that was generated by Toyota, who pioneered what is now called lean. In Toyota, they just simply call it the Toyota production system, or the Toyota way of doing things. So, for instance, I'm an industrial engineer, and early on in my career, they taught us about how to maximize, product output and how to maximize the efficiency of the companies is all by simply producing economies of scale, right? So if you're producing something, if you produce it in large volumes, you're going to do better, because the unit cost theoretically is going to cost much less, right? So this is like the basic premise of industrial engineering. Mass produce similar widgets or products so that you can get faster at doing them and be more cost efficient in terms of unit cost. Now, Toyota came along, and the whole principle of lean in manufacturing is the premise that, well, actually mass production is actually very inefficient, because you're generating a lot of invisible waste. All of the inventories that you're generating, handling all the things that you're producing. A better approach, according to the lean manufacturing principles, is only to produce exactly the part that you need, ideally producing just in time, giving to the customer only the part that they require, only the product that they're asking for in the moment they're asking for it, and producing it just in time, and trying to minimize the amount of wasteful processes and movements that mass production might generate. Mm-hmm. So that premise of lean in manufacturing has been now translated into knowledge work and into the way that people manage projects and into the way that people build their companies. So I think, for instance, you mentioned the book, The Lean Startup, and I think that the author, Eric Ries, did a great job of studying a little bit of what Toyota was doing and translate what that means for building startups. So I think that his translation is, instead of mass producing a product that at the end nobody will use, his approach is, hey, just produce just in time, feature by feature, and testing it as soon as possible with actual users to see if you're actually producing value for them. So that's the way that he translated it for startups. Now, the same can be said about managing projects. Contrasting the traditional waterfall approach, which at the end of the waterfall, the deliverable will be received by the customer, perhaps not to his liking or to her liking. And the lean approach to product development is to also make it very similar in deferring several of the technological decisions and how you're making your product to validate whether it's going to work or not, and whether it's in accordance to what the customer is expecting. So the whole concept of producing just in time, but also by developing people who can solve problems at the root cause as they appear. So I hope that makes it slightly clear about what the whole lean approach is about.
Mm-hmm. It actually reminds me of Agile in a way, short sprints. Absolutely. And minimal viable product, the least you need to have in order to ship. So is there a correlation there? What's the difference?
There's not much of I would say the correlation is many of the things of Agile product development appeared more or less in parallel with how when lean was being a little bit more mainstream. So I wouldn't say that Agile is a next evolution of lean. I think that many of those principles do come from the same seeds, from the same principles, and they do borrow many things from each other. But I think that the main similarities between an Agile approach and what could be called lean product development is a fact of, instead of defining the specifications upstream, from early on your project and committing to those specifications until you deliver them to a customer later on after a long development time, both lean product development and Agile, I agree on the fact that, look, don't focus too much on being too specific on how the product is going to look like. Actually do small, follow an iterative approach to reaching your objective and solving problems in between, by working with a cross-functional team all along, rather than just throwing information over the wall to the next silo. So in that, those are the similarities that they have. Mm-hmm. In terms of the differences, I think lean practitioners, especially those who are coming from more traditional environments like lean manufacturing and so on, do have a stronger inclination to respect processes and build processes, and they don't find this sort of incompatibility of having good processes with being properly agile as a company.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine there's probably a lot of process in order to enforce a lean approach, especially in manufacturing. It's so many moving parts.
Yeah, and the same can be said about Agile. I mean, there's a common misconception that I find with my customers that, hey, we don't have any processes, or we don't plan our projects at all because we're Agile, right? And it's the perception that this is, Agile is the Wild West, and somehow by magic, at the end, you might have a finished product that the customer will actually like. Well, it's not really like that. Agile is also very disciplined. If you ask anybody who's been properly trained as a Scrum Master in Agile, they will tell you that, hey, it actually does require a lot of discipline to get all these cross-functional teams coordinated into very undefined requirements by the customers, and how we validate our assumptions, and how we solve problems along the way, and how we solve them very efficiently so they don't reoccur and so forth. So that there is a lot of process and discipline to an agile approach as well.
All right, just a quick break here to let you know that we have a sponsor. Career Academy is offering an exclusive project management certification training bundle for the PM for the Masses listeners, which you can get at pmforthemasses.com/academy. This bundle includes complete video training packages for the PMP exam, PMI ACP or Agile Certified Practitioner, CAPM, and the PMI Risk Management Professional certifications. Also, you can get up to 180 PDUs with this bundle, and the cost is only $99. So yeah, go to pmforthemasses.com/academy and sign up. Again, go to pmforthemasses.com/academy to sign up. Very good. Now, let's talk about Toyota a little bit, because I think, some people may not have heard of Lean. I think it's pretty well known, but Toyota is known for, as products, they're known for reliability. But then on the business side, they're known for the Lean approach.
Yes.
Now, you work there, and talk a little bit about how they approach actual project management. Because you told me that they are able to develop a new car in about half the time that other companies do.
Yes. And there's two reasons for that, I think. And if you think about it, developing a car in half the time of your competitors, or developing any product in half the time as your competitors, is a huge advantage. And there's two or three things that come to mind. First of all is the discipline that Toyota has on the execution side. Toyota, I remember when I was there, whenever they do a project plan, they simply print it out in big format. So they take a big plotter, they print out the whole project timeline, they put it on the wall, and actually for managing their projects, they call these big rooms, which they call, with a Japanese word called the obeya, which loosely translates to the big room. Many people call it the war room, but it's all on the wall. It's all very visual. So they print out this project plan and the schedule, as I mentioned, and that is not going to change. The project plan shall be executed as it was established. So they're relentless in their discipline or making it happen. They don't plan for any buffers for delays. They don't plan for failure. It's like, we don't plan for failure. That's their motto pretty much. And we're going to execute this plan whatever it takes. And I think this is a key word, whatever it takes. So that is part of the Toyota secret, let's say, into really being tied up to or committed to executing the plans and not planning for failure or not anticipating failure. That said, they also use an approach, especially in product development, at the very early stage of their projects. Before they actually commit to the disciplined project plan, when they're developing a new product or a new technology. There they take their time. They're very slow. They keep it very open. They pursue many opportunities at the same time. And they tend to call this set-based concurrent engineering, where they're chasing at the same time many different options. And instead of committing very early on to a specific technology or a solution in design, they test them all in parallel at the same time. So they start by testing, learning about the technology, and then they make the technological decision as late as possible, but not later. But once they do commit with a given technology or solution, then boom, they execute at full speed. So it's a combination of those two things, that open approach in the early stages of project planning, where it's more of an agile approach, I would say, if people are familiar with agile. And then the relentless execution. And then a third element, I might say, is how they reuse knowledge. Toyota doesn't like to reinvent the wheel. They have an excellent knowledge management system to avoid the problems that occurred in the past and ensure that the knowledge flows across projects.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a ninja approach. They plan the attack very carefully. They're very quiet. They're very methodical. But then when they kill you, it's super fast and it's done.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fantastic. And so, okay, so when I don't know if you're familiar with how they develop their plan, but there has to be a lot of effort put into that phase as well to make sure that it's a plan that it's not going to fail, right? I mean, what about budgets? Because I understand the timeline and all that, but then, there are constraints and things happen, right? So how is their approach to budgets, for example?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the inside view on how they define budgets. What I can tell you is that they don't reinvent a plan every time. They reuse what worked in the past. And every time they finish a project, there's always a session that the Japanese word they call this hansei, which stands for reflection. So at the end of any given project, whether it's big or small, there's a session of reflecting. Okay, we finished our project, and we analyze whether the end result was what we expected or not. And then we analyze, would we do it the same way next time? Yes or no? And Toyota is very good at keeping those knowledge standards, those reusable project plans. And whatever worked perfectly, well, there's no need to actually reinvent the plan for the next product development. Let's reuse the current one, but modifying the parts where we had issues. So they pretty much reuse previous plans. So that's how they're very efficient on doing those plannings and how they allocate budgets. But I cannot tell you because I don't know about the details on how they determine those budgets, unfortunately.
No, that makes sense. They're just very, very disciplined, I guess the word is, about especially lessons learned. And,
yeah, and actually, now that you mention it, I mean, what causes budget overruns in a company when they develop a product?
Yeah, it's typically poor planning.
Yeah, it's poor planning, unforeseen decisions. Right. And sometimes it's the consequence of bad decisions that were made too early. And typically in product development, these are technological decisions. So for instance, if a company who's developing let's say a boat, they're building a new yacht model, and they say, hey, we're going for this new technology in terms of the materials we're using because it's the next big thing. Let's use, composites because they're lighter and they're stronger. And yeah, it's not a very mature technology, but let's go for it because it's the next big thing. And they make this commitment very early on. Without knowing all the consequences. And then in the later stages of the project, they have to suffer on the rework and the problems they have to solve. And this is what causes the project overruns. The budget overruns. In many cases, is decisions that were made too early with not enough good knowledge of what would be the consequences. So Toyota really avoids that on their approach to early stage project planning.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So you go from Toyota to AirBus, and it seems to me from what we talked about and what you wrote me that you landed there right as they were trying to migrate into a lean approach, correct?
That's right. I mean, AirBus approached me when they were building their internal lean management team. And they were fully committed into scaling all of their lean efforts, which they had already started for a few years behind. But they had started initially in manufacturing environments, and then they wanted to bring that knowledge and those practices into product development practices, engineering, quality, and then the rest of the business processes, like in finance, human resources, logistics, procurement, and so on. So I was invited to join the team, and for the first 3 years, I was working on the product development environment.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds like a massive project, actually, to start that lean management team. So, what are some of the difficulties that I'm sure there's huge cultural changes in there going on, especially for a company that's that old. So, talk a little bit about that, about some of the challenges to start, thinking lean.
Yes, the number one lesson that I learned throughout my years in AirBus was the importance of considering the human side of change management and how to integrate change management into any project. Because planning a project, technically, it's the easy part. You make a plan, you get the people, and things are supposed to go according to plan, right? Well, no. Ultimately, you're managing people, and you need to manage, of course, the people who are in the project team who don't necessarily report to you, but that you're coordinating in a horizontal way. You need to manage also the expectations of the sponsors of that project and all the different stakeholders. You need to consider who's going to be impacted by this project, even if they're not part of the team, they're not part of the sponsors, but these are people who might be impacted by the results of your project, and especially when you're talking about lean-related projects that imply some sort of change in the way that people are going to be working, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in engineering. So I really learned, actually, by making a lot of mistakes on the importance of considering the human side of change management, how to involve people from the start in your project to avoid resistance to change. Mm-hmm. So overall stakeholder management.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine how hard that must be. I mean, it's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people probably working for the company for a long time. My wife's family is from Seattle, and Boeing is there, and so I'm a little bit familiar. Her grandpa worked for Boeing for a long time, and I kind of know a little bit of that industry, and I know that people work there for a long time. You know, they retire, they get the gold watch, that kind of stuff, and when you come and hey, you know, we're gonna change the way we manage. That is a big impact.
Yeah, look, working at AirBus was an amazing experience. I mean, the aerospace industry is a very interesting industry. There's a lot of people who are very passionate about the work, very passionate about their history, their heritage. So when a young engineer like me suddenly arrives with no aerospace experience and says, hey, I know a better way to actually do what you've already been doing for the last 30 years. I mean, that's not an approach that works. And let me tell you something. The aerospace industry, has amazing products. You know, the final end product is a complex product. It's a very well made, final product. That said, the processes for making those products, they have a lot of opportunity for improvement, both the processes for designing them and for manufacturing them. And you mentioned Boeing. I mean, historically in this space, especially in commercial jet airplanes, the main two players in that field were only Airbus and Boeing. And the fact that you don't have that much market pressure to keep them on their toes to be more effective or more efficient, for 30 years they were in this, let's say, comfortable position of not having that many competitors. They put them, develop this, habits that are hard to change. Fortunately, I mean, they have this vision that that's not going to be the case for long, and that's why they formed the team to prepare for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I read in a book there. Early in my career, reading about project management and reading about quality control. And I remember reading about the fact that some of the quality control done on the airplanes is just somebody walking around with a clipboard with a checklist, Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, wow, I'm sure it works, but that just sounds a little bit outdated.
Yeah, well, and actually, for instance, you that's a great example. And now within Airbus, we've managed to actually do all of those quality control things, not after the manufacturing, but not only during manufacturing, but even from the moment that we design those parts. So FMEAs, failure mode and effect analysis, have been done within engineering in order to make the products and the processes, let's say, fail-proof. But that whole process implied a lot of change management. So let me go back to the example. I mean, here's this young guy, myself, coming from the automotive industry, coming from Toyota, which is, a great benchmark. And then I arrived to this very interesting company, Airbus, and it's not difficult to find opportunities for improvement. So I can go around and say, hey, wouldn't it be better if we do things this way? And of course, you got these veterans of the aerospace industry who look at you and they literally told me, look, kiddo, we designed the Concorde. We are the ones who designed the A380, the first double-decker airplane. What are you going to teach me about how to better develop airplanes? And that was very humbling, actually. So by making those mistakes, I made a better approach of saying, okay, I arrive as a new guy. I know nothing about developing airplanes. You're right. I'm going to just make all these stupid questions. So teach me, how do you develop new airplanes? Oh, so they explain it to me. And then I would ask, oh, and why do you do it this way? And they would explain to me, oh, we do it this way because this is the way we've been doing it for the last 20 years. Okay, and I see that over here in this part, in this part of the process, you kind of like struggle a lot. It looks like a lot of work. I mean, yes, you're right. Actually, we were doing it that way because we had such and such technological limitations. And then suddenly that person says, hey, actually, there could be a better way of doing it, which is simpler. How about this way? And that's the key. It was not something that I had proposed. It is an idea that was developed by that person. And they got to that idea not by me telling them about a better way of doing things, but it was just questioning them and guiding them. And the fact of involving them from understanding of the problem by themselves and coming to the solution by themselves, that was the biggest lesson that I learned in terms of change management. You really have to involve people from understanding whether they have a problem or not and coming by themselves to a solution that now they own. It's their solution, and they're going to be fully committed to implementing it. So that was a very interesting experience, and it's amazing what people can do by themselves once they're aware of all the opportunities.
That is a great story. It's a great story. And I always say that it's not that people don't like change. They don't like change, forced upon them. But if they come up with the idea for change, then they're all about change.
Absolutely. The thing is, people don't resist to change. People resist to being changed.
Right. It's another way of saying that. And that is a great story. It's I might use that later.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Feel free.
Now, let's switch gears here. So you have this, you have this great opportunities to work for these two fantastic companies, and you got exposed to all these different things, lean and project management and lean manufacturing, things like that. And now you work at Wrike, and you work with project managers, and you're helping them use this tool and do better. Talk about how does that apply to what you do right now, and what are some of the benefits that you brought to the company that now the company can offer to their clients because you're part of the team? Okay,
that's a very good question. Indeed, for me, this was a big change of environment. So imagine I'm coming from the aerospace industry, which is a very traditional environment. It's a huge corporation. The whole, AirBus group is more than 100,000 people. It's very traditional, and as a consequence of being large and manufacturing environment, it's also very slow in many ways. And now I made a radical change of being in a Silicon Valley startup. Well, it's not a startup. It is a growing company. I mean, we're growing. We've been around for quite some years, but it's a completely different environment. Much more dynamic, much more fast-paced, and so on. What I've realized when working with our customers, because our customers are also big and small, and some of them are startups, some of them are Fortune 500 companies, and so on. And by working with all of these customers, whether they're project managers or sometimes they're what we call accidental project managers, is that they all tend to have very similar issues. The same problems that I was solving with managers at AirBus and with their suppliers and so on is the same issues that people are facing in their day-to-day project management, whether they're a startup or a Fortune 500 company. So one of the things I've learned here is that people tend to think they have unique problems. You say, this problem is only due to us as a company because historically we've been like this. And I tell them, look, if it makes you feel better, you're not the only team with this problem. I mean, many of my other customers and other companies have exactly the same issues. And the good news about that is that since you're not the only person suffering with these things on the way you manage projects and the way you collaborate as a team and all the issues that come with that, it means that there are some proven solutions that you can learn from elsewhere. And there is a methodical approach to actually solve those issues. So that's been the the main learning point in my transition.
Mm-hmm. So how does so let's say I'm interested in Wrike and what they do, and maybe I'm kind of have a feeling it might be a good fit. So how is the process of trying to figure that out and working with you guys?
Okay, so the first question that we ask when you approach us is we try to understand who you are, meaning who you are as a person, your own personal background, whether you have project management training or you've just been promoted from being an individual contributor to a team manager, understand your personal background. And we try to understand what is your problem, what brought you to be interested in Wrike. So, and there's many different answers to these two questions. Who are you and what problem are you trying to solve? For many trained project managers, the problem that they're trying to solve is bridging that gap between project planning and actual smooth execution, right? This is a very typical problem that we're solving for our companies because of the fragmentation of the communication tools and so on, and they're considering Wrike as a single platform where their work can be planned and executed. So if you're a project manager with this issue, we help you on how to translate what you already know about project management and your project templates and so forth into Wrike, and how to help your team of doers and executors get on board into the tool and how to understand their part of the work. So that's if you're a project manager and you have that problem. In other cases, it might be what we call the accidental project manager. Sometimes, imagine there's an individual contributor who is either an engineer, or it could be a marketer who used to be just a very good individual contributor. And thanks to being a very good individual contributor, they got promoted to be a team manager. And suddenly they are in a position where they have to get things done, but through other people, which is a completely different skill set, right? So they're looking for a tool that will help them manage people in a very basic way. They just need to understand, well, I want to manage my team, who, by the way, they used to be my colleagues, and now I'm their manager, and I want to do it in a way that they don't hate me for it. So they're trying to look for a cool tool that will help the team pretty much manage itself and just have a basic understanding and visibility of who is doing what by when, which is not an easy question to answer if you're managing all your tasks and projects by email or spreadsheets, right? Mm-hmm. So different type of person, different type of problem. So that's why our approach is always to understand who are you, what problem are you trying to solve, and then we tailor the solution, which is our support, our consulting, the way we present the features of Wrike to you based on your pain, your problem. We're not interested on only selling, software seats. We really are interested on helping our customers be, widely successful in their operations and the way they manage projects and the way they work as a team.
Okay, very good. And let's say the project manager listening right now is unhappy with the way the information system in their company is set up, and they'd love to try something new like Wrike, but maybe they don't have the authority to change things. So can they still talk to you guys and see if how does that work?
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the most common stories that we have is we typically have a person within the company who can really be a catalyst for change in their companies. And it's very simple to set up Wrike for a small team and try it out and immediately prove the value of Wrike being used. You want to call it a pilot, let's call it a pilot, but getting to demonstrating the value of Wrike quickly as a team, where you can then try to sell that to the rest of your company is something that happens very often with us. So what a project manager can do is the typical issue that many of the project managers are having, especially if they're going from another tool. The problem with many of the tools, I don't want this to be a commercial about Wrike, but what I want to talk about the problems that project managers are facing. And many have told me that the problem they're facing is that the people actually executing the tasks that they plan well, they have to chase them via emails or via, hey, can you fill up this spreadsheet in order for me to update my project management tool, to update what is the status of this task? So they spend most of the time chasing people, organizing meetings, doing administrative work, instead of doing the things that are most valuable for a project manager, which is to think strategically about the project, to make it more efficient, to think about how to improve the way that they visualize the impact of the project to the stakeholders and so on. And instead, they're spending most of the time on small, like I would say almost babysitting tasks of chasing people. And I think most of your listeners can relate to that. And it's amazing how much of a difference a tool like Wrike can make on that, because it's not easy to keep a good balance of providing the good features that are bringing a lot of value for project managers, while still keeping the simplicity and the collaboration side for the rest of the users.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, the reason I'm asking these questions, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot there, but I'm always searching for good tools to share with my community, and Wrike is one of those that are, it was very interesting what I saw when I was researching, before my call with you, and I think, there's something there I'd like to explain to them a bit better, so they can make a decision to go and look for it.
And there's another interesting trend that also impacts this, which is, the new generation of workers. We got the Facebook generation now joining most of the workforce, and they're expecting to work with tools that look something close to what they would install in their own phones, right? I mean, they don't want to use like clunky old enterprisey tools that seem to be designed in the 90s. They want to look something that looks smooth, something they can use on their phones. And that's something that we're catering to as well.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So, Errette, if people want to learn more about you, or what you do, and about Wrike, where should they go?
Well, the first source is, of course, you want to check out Wrike, just go to www.wrike.com, and Wrike is spelled WRIKE.com. I'm very proud of our blog. Our content team is amazing. I also help them out with some of the content over there. We do provide a lot of resources that appeal to both project managers and team members and team managers, or people who are interested in startups. So our blog has a big following. So if you want to get immediate value of how you could use Wrike, check out our blog. So wrike.com/blog. And those are the two suggestions I would make. I mean, and it's also very simple to try out Wrike. I mean, we offer free trials of our product, so you can immediately see the value of Wrike for free. And if you do see that you're getting value out of Wrike, you can get in touch with us to formalize a relationship.
Fantastic. Now, Errette, thank you so much for your time and for sharing some of your expertise here with us and explaining a little bit about the tool that you represent. And I really appreciate it. And we'll stay in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Cesar, thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. And let's stay in touch. Absolutely.
You are listening to the PM for the Masses podcast.
Hi, this is Dave Gordon with the Project Management Must-Read articles for this week. At Inc.com, Suzanne Lucas, the evil HR lady, explains the alternatives businesses will face when implementing the Department of Labor's new overtime rules. If you manage U.S.-based employees, chances are that some of the people currently considered salaried are going to become hourly workers. Don't let this come as a surprise to you. And over at Forbes, Chris Wilder explains that information intelligence and the Internet of Things is driving fundamental changes to the supply chain. We're moving from just-in-time delivery to real-time, actionable intelligence at every point in the production cycle. And at Mosaic Projects, Linda Bourne builds on two earlier articles on stakeholder engagement with a focus on tools and techniques. The benefits of stakeholder engagement are well known. The challenge is always in the execution. You can find links to these articles and many more at the Practicing IT Project Manager website at practicingitpm.com.
All right, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Errette Dunn. He's a great guy, as you can tell, a lot of experience. And Wrike.com is doing some great work when it comes to project management. So go to Wrike.com and visit their website, and especially their blog. It's as Errette said, they take pride on the work they do with their blog, and it shows. It's a beautiful thing that they're doing there in terms of content creation for us in project management. So go visit Wrike.com. You can also go to pmforthemasses.com/89, and the link to the blog will be there. The link to Wrike.com will be there, and all the other things that we talked about during the interview will be there as well. Now, before I talk about the book, I just wanted to give you another reminder about our sponsor, and that is Career Academy. So if you go to pmforthemasses.com/academy, you'll be able to sign up for the project management training bundle that they put together specifically for the PM for the Masses community. That costs $99. And before I tell you anything else, it gives you 180 PDUs. So that's more PDUs that you'll ever need. And not only that, there is PMP preparation courses that's included. There is a CAPM or CAPM course, a preparation course that's included. That's the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner course that's also included. And also the PMI Risk Management Professional, also included in the $99. Plus a lot more courses that you can go to pmforthemasses.com/academy, and you'll be able to see all the courses that are included. So as I said, it's up to 180 PDUs you can get. It costs $99. It's on-demand training, so you don't have to sit in front of the computer a specific time or day to watch it. You can just watch it whenever you feel like and whenever you can. You get review quizzes. You can get to print your workbooks. I mean, it's a lot of benefits. You get certificates of completion to prove to the world that you've taken these courses. And as I said, the certifications covered are PMP, PMI ACP, CAPM, and PMI Risk Management Professional. Now, this is a limited time offer. As of the recording of this podcast, which is right now, it's 9:21 p.m. on August 20th, and it's, as I said, it's a Thursday night. So there's 10 days left for you to take advantage of this offer, and then it goes away. So go to pmforthemasses.com/academy and check out what's available there. Now, I had some questions about what's included, because when you go to that link, there are different things there. There's a $99 project management bundle. There's a $69 Agile Scrum bundle. $69. So there are different bundles that are there as well. Now, the $99, some folks were confused and thinking that the $99 was just for the PMP preparation, but it's not. So all these courses that I've been talking about are included in the $99 project management bundle, including the 180 PDUs. The other offers are there as well for you to take advantage of. As I said, there's a $69 Agile certification and Scrum training bundle. There's a CompTIA certification training bundle, and a bunch of others as well that are available there. But the flagship offer here is the $99 project management bundle. And again, you can go to pmforthemasses.com/academy and you can go check it out. Now, before I go today, I just wanted to give you an update here on my book. And if you've been listening to the show for a while, you've been following my journey through writing this book. And this started about a year ago when I met Patrick Snow at our local PMI chapter symposium here. He came and talked about, he gave the opening keynote for our conference. And then I got to talk to him. I interviewed him on the show here twice. The second time I had him on, he talked about book publishing. And I was really impressed about his approach, and I decided to look into it and write my first book. And that led me to realize that I needed to come up with some funds to self-publish and to publish this book and hire the right professionals to do editing, interior layout, and cover design and things like that. And then that led me to run a Kickstarter campaign that was last November or October of 2014. I think it was October 2014, which was 121% funded. So a crowdfunding campaign that was really successful, gave me the funds to be able to do this. And I've been writing the book since, early this year. And it was a long, long journey. But I'm happy to say that the books finally arrived yesterday. And and here's the thing, I was a little bit apprehensive because they provided me with the printer provided me with proofs. So, but they're called content proofs. So they basically mailed me a bundle of papers stapled together. That okay, this is the content of your book. Check and make sure that that's what it is. So basically, it was the printout of the PDF I sent them of the book, and so I had to go back and forth a little bit. There was a couple of mistakes there, but and they also sent me a print of the dust jacket for the book, and but not in the same type of paper that was going to be the final product. So while I was sure the content was fine, I wasn't sure how this book was going to look and feel. So I was a little bit apprehensive. But when I opened the box and I took the first book out, it just felt amazing. I mean, it looks really good. And I'm so happy. I'm so proud of it. And many of you listening right now, not only have been following my journey, but you actually contributed. You went and supported me through the Kickstarter campaign. Some of you have actually pre-ordered the book because you missed the campaign. So I'd like to thank you for making this possible. I mean, it's an amazing feeling, you know. You should see when I took the book out. I was in the kitchen and my kids were around me, and I took it out and I showed it to my oldest daughter. She's old enough to understand. She's going to be 9 this year, and you should see her the sparkle in her eye. You know, she was so proud of me there and my wife and all my kids. So it was just a special moment. And I felt really grateful because it is all because of you. So thank you for listening every week. Thank you for contributing to the Kickstarter campaign. If you did, you should be getting your book very soon. And yeah, I'm really happy. So thank you again. And really, and by the way, if you want to order this book, as I mentioned in the beginning, I am not charging for shipping for 2 more days. So if you want a copy and without paying for shipping, go to projectmanagementforyou.com and pre-order there. And it's very straightforward. You can order either just the ebook or the hardcover book, or the hardcover ebook and audiobook bundle. So you can just go to projectmanagementforyou.com and order it there. And so again, and you have only 2 more days to do it until the 23rd of August. So that's it. That's what I had for you today. You know, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Errette. Take advantage of the Career Academy training bundle at pmforthemasses.com/academy and go and get my book at projectmanagementforyou.com before I start charging for shipping. And that's it, my friends. I'll talk to you again next week. And until then, remember that life is a project and you are the manager. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening to the PM for the Masses podcast.
Tune in next week for more great ideas on how to manage your projects better and truly stand out in your industry.
pmforthemasses.com